Cardio done for the morning. So, welcome back guys to the YouTube. I've just done my cardio as you've seen. So tick that off for this morning, and we've got an exciting day ahead. Pool today, so I'll show you guys that. But the main topic for this video is going to be looking into the biggest mistakes I've made in my bodybuilding career. I've actually had a couple people bring this up and say it would be really interesting to see. And you know, we'll go through like everything that I wish I did differently. There's some things that, you know, I go back in time, I wouldn't change it. You know, I've enjoyed life a bit in my younger years and things like that. But there are definitely a few things there that if I had done differently, I do think I would be a better bodybuilder than I am right now. Whilst I'm still happy with where I am right now, it's good to reflect and sort of use those lessons to push onto my clients and make sure that they don't make the same mistakes. Because, you know, I've been there, I've done things that, you know, perhaps really didn't help, and it's worth looking into that. Yeah, we'll get into that later on in this video. And yeah, other than that, right now I am well into my off season, around like 5.5 months into my off season, and training's going really well, which you'll see today. But we're actually doing a devolume now, so I'm into my 7th week of my split, and fatigue is pretty high right now, so I'm pretty tired from just continuously training heavy to failure. That's sort of taking its toll now, and it's now when I need to push back for a week, you know, run a devolume and let all that stress and fatigue drop off. But we'll actually get into that a bit later in the video as well, and discuss like why you should devolume and when. Obviously it's a topic that comes up a lot, but I think some people still wonder about it and how it works, so we can discuss that as well. And then other than that, it's just a usual video showing you guys my routine. So yeah, I'm going to get on with my day, done my cardio, and it's time to get started. Right, now we can film. Making meal one. Anyway, so I'm just going to have my meal one, which is oats, the usual. So we're going to do that, 135 grams.
You have the craziest sweat mark in the back.
Really?
It's like a seat with 2 holes in. It's like the exact shape of the seat, I think.
So whilst that's in the microwave, I just thought I'd talk to you guys about why I'm doing cardio right now. So I'm actually doing cardio more right now than I was on prep, which is funny, but it's for a complete different reason that you would do it on prep. It's actually for now cardiovascular health and fitness, to allow me, 1, to be healthy, but 2, also to perform well in the gym. So that's why I'm doing it right now in the off season, pretty often, every single day other than leg days. So it's quite often. And there's another big reason, which is right now I'm at like I'm 5 months into my off season, and body weight's getting a bit higher, and I've been starting to measure my blood glucose, and it's starting to creep up a bit. It's not awful, but it's not good. I think genetically, some people can just have a tendency to have poorer blood glucose. But what I need to do now is just do cardio frequently, just to help manage that blood glucose better. It really helps with insulin sensitivity. That will then lead to better partitioning of food, better recovery, more muscle growth, more longevity in this phase, because I'm gonna be able to manage blood glucose for longer. Because if it's now not great, then imagine what it's gonna be like when I'm 5, 6, 7, 8 kilos heavier. It could be a lot worse. And then another thing that I do is I've been taking these, which are amazing, Glycomax. They help really well. So I take this with every single meal. It basically just helps manage that blood glucose. So again, it's the same thing as the cardio, it's doing the same thing. So if you want to get this, if you're struggling to digest food, you're having a high amount of carbohydrates, this is essential. You can get it at Elite Sups UK. It's by Strom. Really good supplement for the off season. And I know some people even like using it in prep, it's that good for digestion. So yeah, I would have a look into that. I don't know what. Milo, what do you think? Yeah? These oats are holding on for dear life in my diet plan. Like, it's getting to the point now where I'd be very tempted to swap it out. In prep, it was the best thing. Now it's reached a point where it's a little bit filling and a little heavy, but first meal it's not too bad. I think it goes down really nicely, and obviously you want a lower glycemic carbohydrate further away from training, so it's a little bit more ideal than like rice-based stuff. So that's why I'm having this as my first meal. Tell me your son's a bodybuilder without telling me your son's a bodybuilder. His favourite cupboard is the supplement cupboard. Before you worry, we don't put the pre-workout in there for that reason. But I keep an eye on him. I'm not going to let him eat EAAs. That would not be good. Three. Ruby takes a piss out of me. She says I'm an old person that needs diabetes pills. So I'm not really selling the supplement well. I'd say that though. So it is around like 11:30 right now. Just had my pre-workout meal. Gonna do my pre-workout shake now, which I'm gonna show you what I have because this is actually a pre I love for right now because I'm doing a devolume and trying to avoid caffeine, and it's very good for push and pull sessions, and obviously today is pull. So it's Superhuman Alpha Lion pump. So it is mainly pump, but there is some really good like focus stuff in here, like Alpha GPC is very good, and Lion's Mane as well. So it's really good for focus, got a bit of beta alanine, obviously, all that stuff, and then pump stuff in here. And it tastes insane. This is the mango flavour. It tastes absolutely unreal. It's like one of the best tasting pre's that I've had. So you can get this at Elite Sups. Use my code PAL10 for discount. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Especially if you're training later in the evening, or even later in the day, like late afternoon. Caffeine has a half-life of like something around 10 hours, something like that. So it just stays in your system for really long. So doing something HIIT that gives you a good pump and focus and gets you in the zone to train is spot on. So I'll be using 2 scoops of this today because I'm not having any caffeine with it or any other pre's, and it will do the job for pull. I'm gonna do no caffeine for the whole of this week, not even for legs. Because it's a devolume, like what's the point, why need it? And then that'll get me in a great place to use caffeine afterwards. Even though I'm not really using too much caffeine now anyway in the off season, so this is spot on. So we are at the coach gym and about to train pull in for devolume. So this is the second devolume session of the devolume. So the reason I'm devoluming is basically because for me, I've found every 6 weeks around that I need a devolume. Now I'm into my 7th week. Training's been pretty productive and it's been going well. However, I've reached a point now in the 7th week where I just feel really tired in the mornings. Even after a good night's sleep, I wake up and I just feel tired. I struggle to get out of bed and get on with my day as much as I could. And my motivation to train is just not there. My excitement to train isn't there. And training has slowed a little bit. Not too much, but it has slowed. I'm 5 months into my off season, guys, and I'm still 6 kilos away from the heaviest I've ever been before. So I'm still kind of getting back into like all-time strength. I would say I'm at all-time strength now, but I'm not. It's not like I'm that past my strongest I've ever been. So progressions at this point are kind of expected. That will slow off a lot. So for me to base my decision-making processes with devoluming off performance, it would be pretty skewed data to go off. Just numbers. Like, I need to go off how I feel right now more than anything, because yes, I'm progressing right now, but maybe I could be progressing even more, and I definitely believe that's the case. So backing off for a week will allow me to do so. So today it's just 1 set per exercise, 1 rep in reserve, and it's going to allow me to get way more out of the next few weeks of training as a result. So I'm going to do the job today in terms of just getting it done, getting this devolume session done off. I mean, I already feel better this morning than I did yesterday after the full volume leg session, which was the last full volume session. I already feel better today doing that devolume push session yesterday. So it just shows how sort of how much of a hole I was in, which was a big one because I've been taking a lot of progressions continuously, and that is fatiguing. Later on in my off season, when I'm like a year into it, and I'm going up, and when I do my second push, I'll probably get away with devoluming every 10-11 weeks because the rate of progressions will be way less and I'll be used to that. Whereas right now, I'm just taking new weights, and that is a very fatiguing process, especially when you're always going to failure, and also when you're programming things like deadlifts and stuff. So yeah, anyway, that's enough of me rambling on about devolumes. Hopefully that was insightful for some of you, and I'll get on with the session now. Looking forward to seeing what I can do with rows and stuff, but obviously it's not going to be much of an intensity today, but we're going to show you some of the exercises for this pull session, because this actually hasn't been shown yet in this new gym. So yeah, let's get to it. So pretty decent full session. Not like obviously that much to comment on because it was devolume, but I did the job in terms of dropping off fatigue, and yeah, feeling a little bit better now. I think it's definitely going to take a full week to actually fully feel fresh. By the end of this full rotation, I'll be ready to go again, and then it'll be another 8 weeks of very solid training. So yeah, pretty decent session, some good numbers floating around there considering I was training 1 RIR, and just got it done. And now we're going to get back, eat, and discuss my biggest mistakes in my bodybuilding career. So got my post-workout meal here. I changed it because I just found like the calories were way easier to consume through bagels. So I'm doing cinnamon bagels with jam. It's a bit weirdly spread. Some of them are it's 50 grams of jam though, which is like 28 grams of carbs, so it's quite a lot of carbs from just jam, so I don't want to do any more, but I probably should, maybe next time. But it's like, in here is I think around 150, 160 grams of carbs, which is ideal because it's that post-workout time where I can have a high amount of carbs. And it means, this goes down so easily. It's a really good off-season hack, bagels and jam, love it, and it tastes insane. Raspberry jam, cinnamon and raisin bagel is so good. Spot on. So let's do this. Let's talk about my biggest mistakes in bodybuilding and the things you should avoid doing if you're starting in this fitness journey. But there are a few areas which, looking back, I definitely wish I did differently, and I think it's worth sort of using those lessons to help other people, like the people watching this video, so you can make sure you're not making those mistakes. Some people watching this, you might already know some of these. You might think, well, I know this, but like it's worth talking about the things that I messed up on. It's quite funny. Like, we're gonna start on the biggest point that I want to talk about, which is a pretty funny one, is how shit my form was. My form was terrible for a good few years of my training. I think I did the classic Buddy, Ronnie Coleman barbell rows, and I just assumed that was it. Like, it was fine, I was seeing progress, but I was complacent. And it wasn't until the last couple of years where I actually switched up my training, I saw how much more I could actually get out of my progress from training properly, especially things like my quads. My legs always grew pretty easily, but since actually caring about my execution, they have grown so much more. So yeah, you might have an area that grows easily, but that doesn't mean it can't grow even more. And it tends to be the people that have those really strong areas, they become complacent. They think, oh, well, clearly training form isn't that important because I'm growing. And then they think, well, maybe that doesn't apply to everyone. People are genetically predisposed to having an ability to grow something way more than other people are. So don't let that get ahead of you and become complacent like I did. And I'm actually going to go onto my old Instagram because there is quite a few videos on here, and I haven't deleted them, which is good because I should really just delete them, but it's part of the process, I guess. So yeah, as I scroll down, the form just gets progressively worse. So we'll start. This is me deadlifting absolute bounce reps, and I used to have lower back issues all the time. I was playing rugby, and no wonder I was deadlifting like this. Just literally just bouncing it from the floor. I had a bit. I admit, when I was 16, I had a bit of an ego with trying to lift as much as I could, and whilst that's not an awful thing, this one's even worse. This is actually embarrassing. I'm pretty embarrassed to show you this video. Yeah, that's terrible. My hair's flapping about as well whilst I do it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, at the time it wasn't an awful thing because that ego with training helped me just want to get strong, and it made me enjoy training. But I do wish I used better form because I know the difference it makes now, and if I did that back then, I would have grown so much more. But you live and learn, and ultimately, it's good now. I've got that perspective of what was different back then to really get how important it is now. And now I can tell you guys, use good form. You learn to use the muscle properly. You will avoid injuries. You won't have back issues like I had. So yeah, do not use shit form. Secondly, and this is something I made the error of doing a lot, was staying lean. I used to do cuts for summer, and I would stay pretty much shredded, I guess you could say I was shredded, all summer, not growing, just to look good. And realistically, you know, something I've realised now is, if you're trying to look good, just put more muscle on. That will look way better. Holding a bit more body fat but being bigger is much better looks to your physique than just trying to be shredded and scrawny and not even that big yet. And if I didn't waste time staying lean, I would have built more muscle tissue in my earlier years, and I would be a better bodybuilder than I am right now. So that is a very important one. The third one is, I used to always change my workouts. I used to just walk into the gym and just do whatever I felt like doing. This is the worst thing to do, guys. You want to build skill with your movements so you can, like I said at the start, use good form so you can, you know, drive a better stimulus, create progressions, actually get your progressions aren't novel sort of neurological adaptations anymore. It's actually you growing, because if I run a movement into the ground for a long period of time and then I progress on it, that means I'm growing muscle tissue. It doesn't mean it's something that's new and I'm just adapting to it. I'm just getting more skillful. It's actually muscle adaptations through muscle growth occurring. Another point is, and this is like not an awful one, but it's important, is I was never weighing myself regularly in the morning. I would weigh myself occasionally and just see where my body weight was, and that was it. And the most important thing for success in a growing phase is controlling that rate of gain. So control that rate of gain throughout to allow you to progress. Now, I didn't track my macros for a long period of time. Looking back on things, when I was 15, 16, 17 in training, I'm quite glad I didn't track my macros. I think it's good just to have a bit more flexibility at that point when I'm young, because as long as you're, like I said, if you're weighing yourself regularly, you can just adjust your lifestyle a little bit in terms of your foods that you eat and just do it that way to allow body weight to move in the direction you expect. You know, when you're 16, you don't need to be tracking things to the T. Yes, maybe when you're a little bit older and you start to want to be, you know, if you're trying to compete or you're trying to just see out your fitness goals, definitely. But, you know, when you're at that age, yeah, perhaps not. And lastly, this is something, you know, it's a hard one. Like, yes, I regret it, but at the same time, I think there was some positives to it, was competing too often. There were definitely like 3 shows I did, maybe 3 preps that were pointless. They didn't really mean anything. I won shows, but what did that really mean? If you're going to win a qualifier and then you're not going to go to the finals, is there really much point yet? How long's your off-season been yet? I competed literally, I hadn't tracked my macros. I started tracking macros when I started to do prep. Crazy, right? You should want to track macros when you're in a growing phase first, actually build loads of muscle tissue and then prep. Whereas I went straight into prep, I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to start tracking my macros now. And, you know, those first couple of years of competing, I was 17, 18, I was 18, 19 years old, and it didn't really get me anywhere. So in those years, focus on being strong in the gym, progressing body weight up, and just loving training. That is the most important thing. But one thing I want to end this with is, yes, those things were my biggest regrets with the errors I've made. However, the most important thing that I did was remain consistent. So I just kept going to the gym, no matter what. Yes, I did things wrong, but I was always going to the gym. My friends actually, I remember were taking the piss the other day, saying like, whenever we went on a lad's holiday, I'd always be looking for a gym. And it was that consistency, never missing a session, that has got me to where I am now. It's the reason why I grew a lot, even when I didn't know what I was doing, because I was always training. I had that slight ego. I wanted to get strong with my lifts. That really was something I was chasing in the gym, and that's what you need to do. Just be consistent. That is the most powerful thing you can do to see out your fitness goals. So yeah, hopefully that was useful. Obviously, like I said, some of these things I really do regret, but you know, it's all a learning curve, and I think you make those errors and then you become a better person from it, and it gives you a useful perspective. But there are a few things there that it's better just avoiding completely. And whilst I enjoy my younger years, maybe I had a few drinks and things like that, which I don't regret, because that was part of me enjoying life at that age. I'm now in a position where I'm able to get my head down and know exactly what I need to do to be the bodybuilder that I am today. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully that was useful, and I hope you enjoyed the video. We're going to keep the content coming. Let me know what topics you want me to talk about. I really enjoy discussing unique topics on here. I think it's good to keep the YouTube pretty versatile. We gotta be creative, guys, because obviously I've got a 2-year off season ahead, so we got to think, because it's gonna get we're going to get to a point where you need to think of new things, and we're going to keep it coming ultimately, no matter what. So if you're new to the YouTube, drop a subscribe and drop a like. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.